Your mission beneath the cathedral is successful. Your actions today will influence the outside world for years to come. The mutant attack on Necropolis spares none of its ghoulish inhabitants. After the mutant armies advance, they leave a truly dead city behind them. The followers of the apocalypse rise to become a major influence in New California. With your help, they gain control of the LA Boneyard. In Shady Sands, Tandy helps her father Aradesh bring a new community and new life out of the broken remains of the world. They are responsible for the New California Republic, whose ideals spread across the land. Killian Darkwater takes firm control of Junktown, drives out the last of Gizmo's kind, and then enforces his own brand of frontier justice. Life is fair and safe under his law. The Desert Raiders eventually regroup and manage to terrorize small communities in the years following your adventures. With your assistance, Old Harold brings the ghoul population of the hub into equality with the humans. The two sides work together and the hub prospers. Old Harold is still alive, as far as anyone knows. The Brotherhood of Steel helps the other human outposts drive the mutant armies away with minimal loss of life on both sides of the conflict. The advanced technology of the Brotherhood is slowly reintroduced into New California with little disruption or chaos. The Brotherhood wisely remains out of the power structure and becomes a major research and development house. Your involvement with the various places and people of the wasteland is well documented by future historians. Only a single question remained unanswered. What happened to you? You march into the desert sands, leaving the vault behind you. After the Enclave's destruction, the refugees of Arroyo and Vault 13 resettled, building a new community with the aid of the Garden of Eden creation kit. Finding themselves hundreds of miles from their vault, the members of Vault 13 chose to join the villagers in establishing a new community, and their technical expertise, combined with the villagers' survival skills, allowed the new settlement to grow and prosper. 2 generations of the same bloodline were reunited, and their savior, the Chosen One, became Elder, presiding over the village in the years to come. Arroyo's Elder lived for many years after the destruction of the Enclave. She was pleased that the ancient separation between Vault 13 and the Vault Dweller had been reconciled, and many were the times she told you that she wished the Vault Dweller were alive to have seen the reconciliation take place. The Elder passed away in her sleep, certain that the safety of your new village had been secured and was now flourishing. Many of the older Arroyo residents believe that she now lives in the Vault of the Sky, telling the Vault Dwellers of your brave deeds. Relations between the Slags and the residents of Modoc flourished. Between the two peoples, Modoc prospered and became a major farming community, supplying all the outlying regions with food. With Metzger gone, slavery disappeared from the area. Becky's casino bar grew quickly, and Rebecca Dyer's reputation as an honest casino and bar owner brought her the business needed to buy out her competition and expand. The den flourished, and it soon gained a reputation for being a tough but honest community. The correspondence between NCR and Vault City continued, and a few years after the destruction of the Enclave, Roger Weston assumed the head of the NCR Council. He immediately set limits for NCR's expansion north, and in a landmark settlement, passed an amendment that formally recognized Vault City's independence.
Shortly after this settlement, Weston suffered a heart attack and retired from politics. He moved north to Vault City for medical treatment and eventually married Joanne Lynette in the following year. Optimizing Gecko's power plant became the first step in forging a spirit of cooperation between Gecko and Vault City. Gecko's increased power production became instrumental in helping Vault City's expansion. The harsh xenophobia of many of Vault City's leaders faded into obscurity, while ghoul and human labored side by side to create a center of learning and tolerance where once had stood only enmity and distrust. You still hear mention of Harold from time to time. Apparently, the tree growing from his head has gotten larger, and if rumors are to be believed, fruit is growing from it. The seeds are said to be remarkably tough, and several of them have taken root even in the most barren stretches of the wasteland.
Not long after the destruction of the Enclave, the Bishop family of New Reno was blessed with a child. This child seemed to have little in common with the bishops, preferring instead to spend his days exploring the wastes. When he turned 13, he seized control of the Bishop family and led them to victory over the remaining New Reno families. He died quietly in his sleep at the age of 73, never having known his real father. Several years after the Chosen One sold the excavator chip to dangerous Dan McGrew, Dan used the superior production of his Morning Star mine to buy the Cocoweef mine and then to reopen the great Winnemingo mine. Dan then used his industrial clout to forge an alliance of convenience with the families of New Reno, trading gold in return for protection. With the destruction of the conspiracy to destroy the mutants, Broken Hills began to thrive. Then the uranium ran out. The city, having lost its sole reason for existing, slowly dispersed. The residents carried their riches with them, leaving the place a windswept, desolate ghost town. A few holdouts remained, attempting to eke out a pathetic existence, but eventually, they too disappeared.
Inspired by your example, Marcus eventually traveled across the Great Mountains to the east, searching for other refugees from the Master's army. You never heard from him again.
The failure of diplomacy at Vault 15 slowed the new California Republic's growth into the north. Embarrassed by the failure, President Tandy was replaced by Roger Weston. When the new government finally returned to Vault 15, they found nothing but a ghost town. With your aid, the Death Claws of Vault 13 became a thriving community. When the Vault could no longer hold their numbers, a peaceful campaign of expansion was launched to claim the surrounding lands.
The Sidhe flourished, creating a botanical scourge on the radiation surrounding their beloved town. Though this vine could not grow in other soils, the Sidhe took care to nourish it in their lands. They continued to grow in strength and prominence, forming the basis of a new empire. The scientists grew tired of waiting for the Starfather to come for them or provide the fuel they needed. Using a cheap derivative fuel, they launched an abortive effort to reach the stars themselves. Their shuttle exploded moments after takeoff.
The squatters of Vault 15 continued their meaningless, non-productive lives. No one noticed when the desert wastes finally claimed the squat.
As for the tanker vagrants, well, as vagrants do, they drifted on. The destruction of the Enclave erased all trace of President Richardson from history. Now the title of president is used simply as a boogeyman to frighten children.